Intermediate interview questions. 15. Can you write down a general regular expression for extracting the IP address from logs? There are multiple ways in which we can extract the IP address from logs. Below are a few examples. By using a regular expression, rex field equals underscore raw, IP underscore address, D+, or rex field equals underscore raw, IP underscore address, 0 to 9, 1, 3, dot. 3 is 0 to 9, 1, 3, 16. Explain stats versus transaction commands. This is another frequently asked interview question on Splunk that will test the developer's or engineer's knowledge. The transaction command is most useful in the following two specific cases. When the unique ID from one or more fields alone is not sufficient to discriminate between two transactions. This is the case when the identifier is reused, for example, in web sessions identified by a cookie or client IP. In this case, the time span or pauses are also used to segment the data into transactions. When an identifier is reused, say, in DHCP logs, a particular message identifies the beginning or end of a transaction. When it is desirable to see the raw text of events combined rather than an analysis of the constituent fields of the events. In other cases, it's usually better to use stats. As the performance of the stats command is higher, it can be used, especially in a distributed search environment. If there is a unique ID, the stats command can be used. Are you looking to become a Splunk CM expert? Go through Intellipaat's Splunk SIM security training course online. 17. How do I troubleshoot Splunk performance issues? The answer to this question would be very wide, but, mostly, an interviewer would be looking for the following keywords. Check splunk.log for errors. Check server performance issues, i.e., CPU, memory usage, disk I/O, etc. Install the SOS, Splunk on Splunk, app and check for warnings and errors in its dashboard. Check the number of saved searches currently running and their consumption of system resources. Install and enable Firebug, which is a Firefox extension. Log into Splunk using Firefox and open Firebug's panels. Then, switch to the Net panel, which we will have to enable. The Net panel will show us the HTTP requests and responses, along with the time spent on each. This will give us a lot of information quickly, such as which requests are hanging Splunk, which requests are blameless, etc. 18. What are buckets? Explain the Splunk bucket lifecycle. Splunk places index data in directories, which are called buckets. It is physically a directory containing events from a certain period. A bucket moves through several stages as it ages. Below are the various stages it goes through. Hot. A hot bucket contains newly indexed data. It is open for writing. There can be one or more hot buckets for each index. Warm. A warm bucket consists of data rolled out from a hot bucket. There are many warm buckets. Cold. A cold bucket has data that is rolled out from a warm bucket. There are many cold buckets. Frozen. A frozen bucket is comprised of data rolled out from a cold bucket. The indexer deletes frozen data by default, but we can archive it. Archived data can later be thawed. Data in a frozen bucket is not searchable. By default, the buckets are located in the following location. $splunkinfo /var/lib/splunk/defaulted/db. We should see the hot DB there, and any warm buckets we have. By default, Splunk sets the bucket size to 10 GB for 64-bit systems and 750 MB for 32-bit systems. Interested in learning Splunk? Enroll in Intellipaat's Splunk training today. 19. What is the difference between stats and event stats commands? The stats command generates summary statistics of all the existing fields in the search results and saves them as values in new fields. Event stats is similar to the stats command, except that the aggregation results are added inline to each event and only if the aggregation is pertinent to that event. The event stats command computes requested statistics, much like how stats do, but aggregates them to the original raw data. 20. Who are the top direct competitors to Splunk? Logstash, Loggly, LogLogic, SumoLogic, etc. are some of the top direct competitors to Splunk. 21. What do Splunk licenses specify? Splunk licenses specify how much data we can index per calendar day. 22. How does Splunk determine one day from a licensing perspective? In terms of licensing, for Splunk, one day is from midnight to midnight on the clock of the license master. 23. How are forwarder licenses purchased? They are included in Splunk. Therefore, there is no need to purchase them separately. Interested in learning Splunk? Go for the online instructor-led Splunk training in Toronto. 24. What is the command for restarting Splunk web server? This is another frequently asked Splunk commands interview question. Get a thorough idea of commands. We can restart the Splunk web server by using the following command. Splunk start Splunk web. 25. What is the command for restarting the Splunk daemon? Splunk daemon can be restarted with the below command. Splunk start Splunk. 26. What is the command used to check the running Splunk processes on Unix/Linux? If we want to check the running Splunk enterprise processes on Unix/Linux, we can make use of the following command. ps ux grep Splunk. 27. What is the command used for enabling Splunk to boot start? To boot start Splunk, we have to use the following command. $Splunk home /bin/Splunk enable boot start. 28. How to disable Splunk boot start? In order to disable Splunk boot start, we can use the following. $Splunk home /bin/Splunk disable boot start. Learn the complete concepts of Splunk from Intellipaat's Splunk training in Hyderabad in just 26 hours. 29. What is a source type in Splunk? The source type is Splunk's way of identifying data.